share screen. Right, so in milestone 3 here, you will see a drawback, a cons, a mongoose middleware, and then we have to figure out how to get around it. So this one is not inside the documentation at all. This is somehow I managed to get away, around from that. And okay, let's start. For milestone 1, let's introduce you what we are going to do today. We will add the statistic to our app. For example, the average rating. If you don't have that field yet, so as you take a look at my app here, I have review here. For review, I have a rating, right? And minimum is 1, maximum is 5. You can rate your tour. Also, this is the one from yesterday. I didn't do anything here. So you also have you're gonna add the tour duration. So this one is for the filter. So the preparation for the filter. So we can do this later. We don't have to do it now. We can do this in the afternoon. So this morning we're gonna do the finish the statistic, and in the afternoon we're gonna add filter and pagination, right? Right. So we don't have to do the preparation here because it's all for the filter, and yeah, all for the filter. Oh wait, we need the rating average here. So basically, if you don't have this field yet, you have to do it. You have to add it to your review model. Okay. And don't worry, there. If you go to my Git link from yesterday, there actually the code for that. You can copy and paste. And then I'm gonna skip this one, and in the afternoon I'm gonna go back and add the categories. I don't want to confuse you right now. We are not gonna use this. Yes, we're gonna do this. So I'm gonna add this field to the tour. Add these 5 fields to the tour model. And for this morning, for milestone 1, 2, and 3, we're gonna use rating average and rating quantity, meaning showing you the average rating for this tour or the number of people who rate this tour, right? And take a look at the tour here. Shit, I don't have them, so I'm gonna add them. I'm gonna copy and paste. Okay, I'm gonna explain here. Rating average is same. It's type number, right? It's a type number. Default value will be 0, right? And the user can only vote from 1 to 5, for example. They can only vote from 1 to 5. They cannot vote 0 because like Tiki or Facebook or App Store, you cannot vote 0 star for an app, right? So you can vote only from 1 to 5, but I have a minimum is equal to 0 here because I want the default to be 0. So that when I see the rating is 0, I know exactly, okay, there's no one who rate this tour. And set here is a function. You can like this set here, like before you write it will round up your numbers. For example, if you have a rating for like 4.5, it's gonna round up to 4.5 actually. If you have 4.49, it's gonna round up to 4.5. If you take a look at the multiply by 10, it makes no sense. If you multiply it by 10, then you divide by 10, right? But it does make sense. Like it's round up to 1 decimal number figure. For example, I think I already did this one in JavaScript exercise somehow. And you also have another field called rating quantity. and the type also the number, and default it will be 0, mean no one rate yet, right? If one person rate, it's gonna be 1, or two person rate, person rated, it's gonna be 2. So by default it's 0. And let's save them. Right, but if you save them, then you have to wipe your database first. So I'm gonna open Compass, go to my tour. There's nothing in my tour, nothing in view. I already have a bunch of categories here, which is very easy to add. You can just hard code it, right? So let's go back here. And these are the fields that we're gonna use in the future, so just leave it there. And that's nothing different. These are from yesterday code, nothing new. Can you see it clearly? Do you have to make it? No, this is too big. This one is fine for me. Yeah. All right. Now I'm gonna start my app. Is it this one? npm run dev. Okay. Okay, now let's create a tour. Create a new tour. So slow. Tour. Create a new tour. This one. Okay. 5 days in China, right? Oh shit, tour must have a title. Title journey to China. Ah shit, comma. Right, now we successfully create a new tour, right? And if you take a look at here, we also have two fields, additional fields, rating average and rating quantity. They are all 0, which is good. Now we're gonna add one filter to like whenever the user make a review. For example, shit, I have too many tabs here. Create a new review, right? Create a new review. I'm gonna copy the ID here, and I want to create, for example, if I create a new review here, and then here I have a rating of 2. So in our database, this number should increase by it should be 2, and this one should be 1. Okay, that's our purpose. But for now, if I create a new review, it's not gonna increase the number here. So let's go to our code and define the method to do that. And if you take a look at the lab, actually I have two ways to do it: counting the average rating and the rating quantity. Here I have two ways to do it. As I said before, we can calculate every time we query the database, right? Every time we query the database. So like every time we send a GET request, we're gonna calculate, okay, there's 5 people who rate this product, and these are the star, and then every time we query it, we have to calculate the average number. That doesn't work, but there's a better way. We calculate the average, all the stars whenever a user rated make a review, and then make a review, update a review, or even delete a review. Then we can just save the data, the number, the average number in our database, and then every time a new user send a GET request, we just return the number, so we don't have to calculate again. And that will work really well on the application that have a very high read and write ratio. For example, there should be only 1,000 people who go into your application and take a look at the tour. But like there are only 1 or 2 people or 10 people will rate your tour, right? So that means a very high read and write ratio. It's like 110. 100 over 10 or 1000 over 10. So yeah, so that's why we chose the second approach. We calculate the average number upon every GROOT request here. So if you take a look at, so here's an example. We're gonna go into our review schema and we define a method. Let's go here. Define a method. That's weird. Where's your chat window? Okay. Anyone? Does anyone have question about the flow here? Khan said here. No one? Right, good. So go to your review model, and now we're gonna add a method review schema statics dot for example, if you want to say calculate average rating, for example, right? Equal function. In this function we have I think next. No, we don't need next, but yeah. So this I call it function, I call it method calculate average rating. Okay, and I use statics. Statics mean you I said before, it's only exists in this class model, so, which means the document cannot use it unless it has to use something like this. We'll talk about it later. But for static, we mean like I run this method on the class itself, not on the document, right? On the class itself, on the document. Right, so we need to do something like this. Const the start equal, we're gonna use iteration, error rate, and in here an array is an array. That's the weird syntax if you have never used it. For this, because we run everything on the class, we need the ID here, to ID, and we'll tell you why we need this ID later. So now let's go to the documentation on Mongoose. If you click on error rate, you see a bunch of, oh my god, ew, a bunch of method here, document here, but it's very hard to really read it. So I have another, actually array is from MongoDB, it's not from Mongoose, but Mongoose allow us to use array as well, right? So if you go to MongoDB, I think it's more clear here. For this, we're going to use an array, as you can see here, an array here. And in this array, we can have multiple stage, and each stage will be, and all the stage will be like separated by comma. So each stage will be an object like this with a curly braces like this. And first we're gonna have a mass stage, and then here we're gonna have a root stage, right? Basically these are the two most important stage. So what is mass stage and what is root stage? Mass stage here, if you take click on this, so mass stage is kind of like condition. For example, find by ID, or find one and you want to find by something, you want to find by the name, or you want to find by any field. That's the mass stage, right? So let's go. If you take a look at here, okay, here. So you mass stage, you want to find the author with the name Dave, right? So now I want to find the tour with the tour ID that I will provide later. The tour with the tour ID I will provide later. So this is the mass stage, with this is my mass stage, and the root stage, what the hell is it? So basically root stage, if you click on root stage here, did I click it? All right. So group state will group all the documents, the results, on the result into one object, and that object will have additional fields that you can define here. So basically you group every result from the match stage, right, into one object, and each object will have a unique ID, which you can give anything here, but it has to be unique. It should be unique, right? And because I want to group all the result that have the tour ID here, so I'm gonna give it an ID the same as this tour ID to make it simple. Okay. Okay, now you can have additional no, it's not nice. If you have tour ID here, it also work with but it should be better with here. It will be better, much better if you have the tour here like this. And you might wonder what the hell is this? It's actually this field here. Is this field here? So it will get the value of this field and put it in here, right? Clear? So it will get the value of this tour field, the field that we want to look up, and put it in here. Put the value in here. So basically it's the same with this one, but for error rate you might want to use this way. Okay, and now I want to create two more fields. You can call it number of rating or whatever. What did we call it? We call it rating average and rating quantity. Rating Q, let's say rating Q, rating quantity, quantity, and we also have a rating average, right? So I will create two more fields based on the results. So basically if I have 10 documents here, if I found 10 documents, and I will take a sum of all 10 documents. For some, each document will have like 1 star, 2 star, 5 star, for example. I want to sum them all into one value here. I'm gonna move this up and comma here, and I will remove this comma. So I want to sum them all. You can use sum like this. It doesn't work, but for here you want to use a curly braces because it's special syntax for Mongo. So you want to sum all of them. What is this? What's wrong with this? Oh, because you don't have everything. And then here you want to count, or you want to get the average. Oh shit, this one sum is here, sorry. And you want to sum them all. Sum here you want to count for each item in the list here. Each item you increase the sum number by 1. If you have, for example, if you found 5 dogs, right? If you found 5 dogs and if you put 1 here, the result will be 5. If you put 2 here, for every dog you sum 2 more. This is going to be 10. Okay, make sense? A bit clear? Right, Wing asked that question and I answered that. Right, okay. Anyway, I was going to explain that anyway. So it's gonna be, if it's 3 here, so for every dog I'm gonna add up 3. So that means I will have 15. So if I want to count the number of documents here, I just sum 1 and you're gonna have 5, for example. Okay. Okay, rating average will be the average of all of them, of all the tour, right? And the average, you have to choose the field in the docs. You have to choose the field in the doc. Choose the field from the doc. And what is that field? Guess what? Guess what's the field? What should I have in here? Rating. Yes, here. The rating here. Rating. Right? Cool. This one is so sometimes the syntax looks so weird. But I miss a comma here. Right? So now you finish your array. So this array, the whole thing here will like it will find on the docs, the reviews that have the tour field equal to tour ID, right? And then generate a new object with, for example, here I'm gonna perform the ID, the field ID equal to the tour ID here, and then rating quantity will be the number of tour of doc file, and then the rating average will be the average of field rating in all the docs, right? On the file doc. Cool. And it should be marked already. No, Hưng Nguyễn, no. We are running on the reviews, on the review schema, on the review model, and inside this review model, we have a field called tour, and this field is actually we store the ID of the tour right here. So it should be tour. So it should be tour here, right? So this is explanation for the whole thing here. So I'm gonna delete this. Right? Okay. So we finish the start, and after we calculate it, as I said here, after we calculate it, we're gonna save the data here above to our database, right? And to do that, we have to use a weight, and we have the tour, and we can use find by ID and update, right? Find by ID and update. We have the ID already. We have the ID here. Copy and paste, and we want to update. Which field we want to update? Which field we want to update? Quick. We want to update these two fields, rating average and rating quantity. So I'm gonna put all of those two fields here. Average, and then I don't care whatever it is, right? For now, I'm gonna put them here, average, right, quantity. Okay. So now we need the value. Somehow we want to target the start dot. No, we have start. So the start here. If I'm gonna comment out and give you an example. The will start will return. It's an array, and you can see here, it's gonna be an array, right? It's an array, and there should be, because you can have multiple groups. It does. You don't need to have only one group. You can have two more group, more additional groups. It doesn't matter. You just use the comma here and add more groups if you want. So right now we only have one group, So it's going to be like this, right? ID equals something, and then rating equal ID something. We already have it here. So we need to target start, and then target start, and then we need to target the first element, and inside the first element we will have what is it represent? It's a group stage. If we group all of the document file, right? It's MongoDB. If you want, you can go back to Mongo and read more about the aeration. It's something very useful, and it's kind of advanced comparing to the other method. It's good if you know all of them. that's one of them. You can have more groups stage if you want. You also have project groups, project stage as well. Project stage, but right now we're going to use groups or only groups, right? So go back. Yeah, we group we group related documents into a distinct distinct document. It's kind of like it's a little bit kind of like your virtual, right? This data is not inside your database, but it's just inside the query, right? You also have the start, the first element of start, and the average is, I'm going to copy this, dot average, right? Correct. So you can guess we're gonna have stars 0 dot rating quantity. Cool. So basically we will look at this variable, this value, and we look at the first element, and we get the properties, rating, average, and rating quantity. Where do we get start? 0 is here. We define it here, and we calculate right here, and then the start will be an array of this group or another group, or I don't know, you can have more groups, but right now we don't need it. We don't need them. So right now we only need one group. We can have as many results here, as many items here as we want. You can just create a new group, right? It's okay. But right now we only find the first item. But right now we need to check the start. Sometimes if it cannot find anything, it will return an empty array. If it cannot find anything in the mass stage, it will return an empty array. So that's how MongoDB works. So we need to guard against it. Stars dot length equals 0, right? If it's equal 0, then the value will be 0, else it will be the average, right? So we also have the default value here, as you can see here, right? The same thing here. If the start dot length equals 0, mean we cannot find any tool, any reviews. I mean, yeah, any review. So this will run the first time we add a new review, and the second time we the second person add another review, it's gonna run this logic, this part of the condition. The same goes for this. Okay. And then that's it. You update it with a new value, and that's it. Right, and let's delete this. So we finished the method to calculate the rating and save it to the database, right? Calculate rating and save to DB. Usually when you code, you should give a command on for each function do something. you need to give a command, right? So this function gonna calculate rating and save to the database. All right. So now we have two options. If you go back to the learning portal, now I'm gonna check it. Yeah, file by ID and update. Yes. Correct. So now you have two options. I'm gonna skip on no. You have two options here. The first option is to use save hook. The second option is not using save hook, meaning you can use a document middleware or a query middleware. So yesterday I already showed you how to use a query middleware, which is here. I think this is a query middleware, and this is a document middleware, right? So now let's go back and use. I will show you two ways as well. Two ways. In this Milestone 2, we'll use the first way, save document middleware, and Milestone 3 will use a query middleware. And the query middleware is kind of confusing for people who don't know about class. All right, let's use the first way. I'm gonna use doc middleware. It's gonna be pre-save, right? And before we can use it, you have to change something in your factory here. I'm gonna use it here. I'm gonna add a new review, right? Oh, we don't have that. So I'm gonna go into my review controller. So here I create a new review, right? So now if I use file one and update, it's not gonna work. So I have to use create and then save. And whenever I want to update, I need to use another one, which is kind of confused. So I had to change a little bit here. Man, I need to change it here. Let's go back and change it. I'm gonna say create, and I don't need this. So let's take it easy right now. I'm gonna allow one user to create as many reviews as he wants. Okay, so one user can create as many reviews as he wants. Create user, and what is this? We don't need this. So in the code, it could be a little bit different. Don't worry. Okay. So I'm gonna create a new review with the body of whatever the client sent, and the user is from the auth middleware. Also, I need the tool ID here. Okay, so I create a review with this tool ID, with its user ID, and the rest will be from the body. Okay, now let's try and create a review then, and then we can delete it. I'm gonna create a new review using Postman to make sure it works. Post new review, and I'm gonna tag in. Await is only valid inside a scene function. If you take a look at here, it will tell you, okay, here's where shit went wrong. In the model review line 65, I actually use await here without a scene here, so I'm gonna a scene. Okay, and it's gonna fix it, right? No error. Now you can test. I'm gonna read all reviews of this blog. Fine. Error again. Cast, the ID is wrong. I put some shit in here. Alright, send. Alright, tool not found, so I need to go back and look at all the tools. Okay, here's a tool because I delete everything yesterday. Read all the tool review of that tool. There's no review yet, right? So I'm gonna create a new review. China is not saved to rating 2. Okay, done. Now if you take a look at here, you will see one review and the rating is 2. Okay, so now I'm gonna use middleware, or whenever I create a new review, I'm gonna use a middleware, and this middleware will be a document middleware. Where is it? Where am I? Okay, it's gonna be a document middleware. It's gonna be like this: review schema dot pre-save. Okay, and here's a function, and it has to use next. So like any middleware needs to use next in order to skip to the next middleware in the chain, right? So whatever we do, we will call next at the end. So what do we do here? We have to call this method. We have to call this method. So we have this middleware have a asset. This will be I'm gonna say this is the doc, right? And then you cannot just like this dot calculate average rating and then you pass in this dot to this dot id. You cannot do it just like this. There's something called constructor. Basically, this method belongs to the class itself. This method belongs to the class. And why do we have to make it like that? Because we want to use the error rate on this class. Now it's very confused. We want to use error rate upon this class, review class. That's why we use statics. And when we use statics, this instance doesn't have this method. So in order to use this method, we have to use constructor. Constructor means we call from the parent. We call the method from the parent, and this method belongs to the parent, which is the model review. So it's kind of like a children from review, and then we use constructor to call the parent method from here, and then we can use calculate average rating, and then we pass in the pass out the tool ID, which is this dot id. All right. Is it pre or I think it's pause. Sorry, pause. Yeah, basically yes. Okay. So after we save the data, we want to calculate the rating as well. After we save the review to our database, we want to calculate the rating for the tool. That's why I use pause save. Okay, makes sense? We can ask now if you have questions. No. So yeah, if it's saved now. So for pause save, we don't need next. That's not next. For pause save, we don't need next. All right. So if it's now, when we create it will back. Yeah. So when we create a new review, right? When we create a new review, if you take a look at the review controller here. When we create a new review using this method create, right? Actually, this method will call self. It will call dot self, right? And dot self we activate, we trigger this middleware, the pause self middleware. After itself, it will calculate, it will run this function, and this function, the purpose of this function is to calculate the rating and save it to the database. um, model tool, right? So it will save to the model tool this value using the tool ID, and tool ID is passed down from here, this dot underscore ID. Wait, no, shit, it's not this underscore ID. This is a review, so it should be a tool. Sorry, terribly sorry. Question from Wing: is there a post hook for 5J? Line 74. Yeah, this dot tool. It's not param. There's no param here. There's no param here. This middleware does not understand param. So you only have this dot tool and this dot tool. Actually, this one. This dot tool, right? This dot tool. This dot tool. All right. Is there a post hook for find and update too? Yeah, there is one, but we will use it differently because find and updates is a query middleware. It's not a document middleware. That's why I say it's very confusing about this middleware. All right, so I'm gonna save everything and test it. Go to Postman, and I have to delete this review first. I'm gonna delete this one first because it's false, it's wrong. Right, I'm gonna create a new review with rating 2, right? Rating 2. Send it. Okay, as you can see, now you query again. Not this. I want to get the tool here. All right, something wrong. I'm not sure if this one runs, so I'm gonna console log and say I am running. So I'm gonna test a couple of times and send it. Duplicate. Shit. Go back and delete it. Delete. Let's take a look at tool. Tool is still 0. Something wrong. It's not updated. So I'm gonna send a new request. Right. Now you can check the tool, but still doesn't update it. But if you read the here, it's okay. I'm running here. I'm running here. That's weird. But tool is not defined. Oh, holy shit. Tool is not defined. Sorry guys. I haven't import tool. Here, I used tool here, but I didn't import it. So const tool equal require model tool. Oh, actually we inside model already, so we don't need that. Just tool. Okay. All right, try again, but this time I have to delete this. I hope there will be no error. Create a new review again. And in here, I want to see. Right, nothing wrong. There's another problem. Cannot read property rating average of undefined. Line 67. Line 67. Take a look at the error here. Cannot read property rating average, right? Rating average of undefined on line 67. Review 67. Review 67. Cannot read rating average of undefined. So that means it cannot find anything. Huh? Really? So basically it cannot find the tool. That's why it cannot modify it. I'm not sure. Any question? Console log. So I'm going to console log the tool ID to make sure the tool ID is correct. Right. The error say cannot find the tool here. Right, again, shit. Review, delete this, then send another one. Okay, go back to the terminal. Oh, you actually see it. I'm gonna copy this ID and check it here. Right. I think the two ID is correct, right? Right, the tour ID is correct, but for some reason it cannot find the tour. Let's take a look at the code. Tour, find by ID and update. Start one. Why the hell is start one? It's a cannot property rating average. Rating average. Rating average. Holy shit, it could be this one. Rating average. Alright, let's console log start first to see what happened in here. Sorry. Console log start, and then I'm gonna create shit. I had to delete it again. Delete. Send it. Oh shit, not this one. This one. Okay, now you can check the log. Oh, actually it found March object and groups. There will be model reviews and the options. Holy shit, it doesn't allow me to read anything inside. I think I forgot a wait here. For God's sake. I forgot a wait, that's why it doesn't get execute. Again, delete. Test again. Now. Alright, so now we saw the results. This is what we want. Okay, sorry, Jenna, you look so sleepy. Sorry. I went ahead and didn't console log everything line by line to check the results for each line. And then I ran into a problem and I had to trace back from the bottom to the top, right? That's how I debug. And now you actually see the results, and I expect that the tour is updated, but it's not. So now take a look. So you target the first element, and then you target the rating. If you take a look at the code here, you target the first element, right? The first element, and you dot rating average, which is 2. Is it correct? Yes, it is correct. We only have one review with the rating is 2, so it should be 1 and 2. One review, actually one rating, and the average is 2, so the number is correct. But somehow it's not updated to our database for some reason. It's not updated to our database for some reason. Let's see. Not this one. This one. It's not updated here. Haha. Why is that? I don't actually know what yet. But now you have another problem. Find by ID and update is not a function. What the hell? Find by ID and update is not a function. That's weird. Sure. It's a function to me. So another error here on line 68. If you take a look, this kind of error will like it will haunt you for a while. So I have a problem here. Find by ID and update is not a function. That's bullshit. It's actually bullshit. You can see here there actually an instruction here. The model dot find by ID and update, and you have the first argument is the ID, and the second argument is the value that you want to update. So why the hell is that Can anyone help me with this? Tour is from here. I think this one is wrong. Demo model tour is correct. Tour. I heard someone. Help me, help. Tour away fiber ID and update doesn't work. What the hell? Something wrong here. What if I change it to what? File 1 and update, and I have ID here equal to tour. Let's see if it works. Basically it's the same thing. And I have to delete the document here. Okay, test it again. Alright, same error. Tour.file1 update is not a function. That's weird. Tour is not a function. Why is that? So the same thing here. I've got the same error. File1 update is not a function, so I don't have tour for some reason. Let's console log tour. That's weird. And yep, save, test it again. So annoying. Okay, and take a look at the, not this one, this one. Oh, it's an empty object. Why is tour an empty object? Holy shit, why is tour an empty object? Let's go back and take a look at why is tour an empty object? That's weird. So we fix this one. This one works, but this one doesn't work. Why is that? Can anyone guess or help me with this? So I'm stuck here for no reason. I'm gonna stop my server and test again somehow. That's weird. Let's save everything here. I'm gonna save it here and close it, and then open it again. Sometimes it stopped working like yesterday, and now I have to work. npm run dev. Okay, please work. Alright, now I'm gonna delete the review and then start again. Bam. Okay. Same error. So this function is running, but tour.file1 and update is not running. I have no idea why. Actually, so I'm gonna change this one back. File by ID and update, and this one's gonna be ID to ID. So my problem here, guys, is that tour is not a model that I expect it to be. And why is that? Tour here. Tour is not a model that I expect it to be. Export tour. And then here I import tour like this. It should be alright. It's in the same folder. The tour is the same. Everything the same. Can anyone help me? Why tour is an empty object? This error is bullshit to me. That looks so bullshit to me, and I don't know why it's happened here now. Let's take a look at the learning portal. Do I have any note? Do I have any note? Okay, no. 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 So this middleware actually run. So this one I'm running does actually run, and this constructor does not have access to the tour for some reason. That's weird. And oh wait, tour here doesn't work. That makes no sense to me. Why tour is not a function? I'm gonna comment out this. I just want to see the tour. Delete the review again. Sorry guys, I run into a bullshit problem. I don't know why. Create a review, right? And then I'm gonna check because log here it's empty. Holy shit! Why the hell is empty? We refine this one first. Tour here again. Now it's empty again. Send anything. Rack whenever. So I think I have. It will take a couple of minutes to debug this one, and let's move on. Let's move on to the next milestone. So basically, I'm sure that it works, but for some reason the tool is not updated. I don't know why yet, so I need to figure it out. But if you move on to calculate the rating or the average rating inside the query middleware, using the query middleware here. So basically, you want to find one and delete sample. If I want to delete the rating in this where is it? In this factory, go to this factory, and if you take a look at the delete one here, you're gonna delete using find one and delete, right? And find one and delete is actually a query middleware. It's not a document middleware, it's a query middleware. And to use it, you have to also use something called review schema dot pause, and in here you have to use find one and delete, for example. Find one and delete, and this is a function. It looks like the same here. It's kind of like this. Find one and delete. What's wrong with this? It's back. Sorry, it's like this. But now if you copy and paste like this, it will not work, right? You have to use how do we say, you have to go the query here, you don't have this, but the pause query here you don't have it, but you have to use breathe query. I'm gonna delete this one first, and you have to use a breathe query, and in the pre-query you need to use next, and inside next, and here you call next after you run this query. So in pre-query, before you run this operation, you will do something like you need to pass the object, you need to pass the query to the post, you need to pass the doc to the post. So this one is very hard to explain. Let's go to the lab here. So you can use file1, and actually I don't use file1 and just I use file1 and update, or file1 and delete, they also work. So you can use a prefix like this. So this means a prefix. So every query with the prefix of file1 and, it can be file1 and delete, it can be file1 and update, right? It can be file1 and remove. They also file1 and. So you have a, how do you say this one? I don't know how to say this one in English. What is it? How do we call this in English? I don't know.
Caret sign, exponential mark.
It's hard to hear. I don't know.
An exponential mark, I think. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'll Google this. I have to Google that. Right. So here's the explanation. The this inside the function is a query object, right? The this here is a query object. This here in the post. In this post self, this here mean the document, and the this here is a query. Right, it's a query. And because it's a query, it does not have access to the review model at all. It means it doesn't belong to the model. And if you want to go have access to the model, you have to go and define, before we define the model at the bottom, at the very bottom of the file here. We don't have the review yet. We don't have review model yet. Review model is defined right. Wait, where is it? Oh, it's defined right here. Actually, I skipped one step. It's gonna be const review equal to this, and then review is gonna be here, right? So we define review right here, so that's why we cannot call it inside this middleware, because this middleware runs before this line, and that's why we cannot call the review here. It will be undefined. It will be undefined. So we have no way to to refer to this review model, but we can have get around. So that's why we use a pre-hook, and in this pre-hook we're gonna create a new document, and then attach document into the query itself. So attach the document, the review document, to the query itself. So we create a new property called doc here, right? And we attach the doc into this, and then this will be file1, because this query will it already have the ID. We want to file1 and or file by ID, and when we do this dot file1, it will return the item for us right here, and then we attach it to the doc, and then we call next. So when we call next, inside the post, the this here is also the query, right? The this here is also the query, but this is from here, it passed down to this one, like it's the same this, and this one, the this here run first, this one run second. So basically we will have this doc as well in here. We will have this doc here, and here this doc is the same with this. So this doc now is the same as this inside inside here. Oh my god. So this doc now will equal to the this inside this middleware. So now we can call it this dot doc dot constructor and then we can call the function calculate average rating, and then we also pass in the tool ID. This dot tool, yeah, like that. So basically we want to use the same thing like this, but right now we don't have the access to the doc, to this doc, review doc, and that's why we need a pre-hook, and inside that pre-hook we will create a doc and attach that doc to the disk, and we pass that disk to the next middleware, which is pre-run first and then post run after that. And inside the post we also have the disk.doc that we define right here. And inside this.doc we have a constructor which is similar to this, and we can call the function on top of it, on that. Right, so that's a workaround. You can see here. Oh shit, I forgot the async and await. So maybe because of that I don't have this async. Oh shit. Really? I was like really kind of like, oh, maybe because the async here, and that's why we need to use await here. Await and async await, and we need to use async here. All right. Whew. Let's test it. I'm going to console log here to make sure this function works, right? Console log calculate rating is running. Right, now I'm gonna test everything. I'm gonna delete the review here. Okay, now go to Postman, send a review. Same shit, 2 or 5 IDs. It's not a function, doesn't matter. But alright, but we should see the reviews. Yeah, we still see the reviews. And now if I delete the review, I want to see this function run. I want to see this console log on my terminal. So I'm gonna delete everything, and then I want to see that console log work when I delete a review. And this is a review. This review, I want to delete this review. This is the ID of the review, and I want to delete this. Paste it. I click send. Same shit, right? Same error, but that function work. And as you can see here, that function work. So that function work, right? But we also have the same problem, which is the tool here. Something wrong with the tool model, and it doesn't have. It's an empty object for now. It's an empty object. I don't know why. So I have to check on that later. But here's how basically how the middleware work. If you don't have, for the query middleware right here, you use file 1 and update, or file 1 and delete. You don't have access to the document because you are running on a query middleware. And you can also I want to use review model. But right here, we don't have review model because we haven't defined yet up until this line. We define it right down here. And now we have to go back and use a workaround. We have to use rehook and pass the doc to that query. And in the post hook, we read that query. We read that doc like this. right? Okay. I have to check on this. I don't know why it doesn't work, but basically everything worked fine except this part. This part failed on me. I don't know why yet. Right. Any question about the flow here? The start here is correct. The start here is actually correct, right? It's actually correct. The only thing that failed is this function, this model. Actually, this model, it failed right here. I don't know why, but everything else worked fine. The post save, the post document middleware worked fine. The pre middleware for the query worked fine. The post middleware for the query worked fine. So in the tool schema, yes. Yes. Do you import one thing? Yes. Export default here. And here import default. I still have no idea why it failed though. I'm gonna delete this. But basically, you like 99% finish milestone 1, 2, and 3, but there's a big problem, or you can call it a minor problem, that stop you from finish all of them, which is this fucking bullshit error. Right. So do you have any other questions? Not about this, please. Not about this. I cannot fix it yet. I have to like research about this. But anything else is okay. So we finished up until milestone 3. So if you want to read more about the explanation, there's one in here. Sorry for making you so confused. Yeah, learn break, please. I need to a break to fix this as well. Right, any like questions? Yeah, like normal. The rest will be easy though. This one is the most like confusing part. It's not in any documentation or anything, so you have to figure out how to fix it, get around. And the filter and pagination, I think you can do it, like nothing new actually. And the instruction here is very clear. Yeah, everything is clear. Even the sorting is clear. Everything is clear. I expect it to be so clear that I don't have to like demo it. Okay. If you have no question, I'm gonna stop here. Man, like there's a bullshit problem every day. Yesterday is some problem that you cannot fix. You just turn it off and then wait for a couple of hours and turn it on and it works. Shit. And right now, same thing happened. Right. Do you want me to explain the milestone 3 again?
Yeah,
This
could you
one is-
explain milestone 3?
This one is actually very like tricky because I actually had a debate with Charles, and he said that there should be like there's no way that mongoose will be that stupid, right? He said that actually after like a half a day of researching, he has to like admit defeat, right? This is one way to get around it. If you dig in the documentation in mongoose, there will be a lot of notes about query middleware. So basically, we use the same method from yesterday here, right? Nothing new. This is the method that we have yesterday, the model, file one, and delete them. But as you can see from the code, I'm gonna should I remove my small shit? No. As you can see from the code here, basically we want to run this function, right? We want to run this function, and this function belongs to the model. It actually belongs to the review model. It belongs to the review model here. So when we call on the pause on the document middleware, pause save here actually created is an instance from instance of the review model. So that's why we can call directly this dot constructor and the method, right? This one worked fine. I suppose we are clear on this. But when we move to the when we change to the query middleware, which is the file one and delete or file one and update. So every time we want to update a review or delete a review, we want to update the rating as well for the tour as well, right? And when we decide to use the query middleware, the this in the query in the middleware is not the document. It's actually the query. It's actually the query. And in here, let's assume that we don't have this and let's ignore this line. We use this one just like here, right? And now if we copy and paste everything and put it in here, it will not work because this is a doc and this is a query. And this query, now if you go and change this one to review dot calculating average rating, it also doesn't work because review we define it right down here. We define it down here. So when you call it right here, it will throw an error undefined. Undefined. And then that's why you need to use something. You need something that is passed down. But the query doesn't have anything called document, and that's why we have to use a query hook. And in this hook, we query the doc. We query the doc using this away this file one. If you run this one down here, now there's another problem. If you run this one down here, it's actually the doc is actually gone because we already finished. We already performed the action delete or update. So if you query the doc down here, right, it's actually gone. So we cannot do that. We have to do it before we perform this action, right? And by then we create a new property called doc with the value of this document, and then we pass it down to the pause middleware. So basically in the pause middleware we also have the doc, and we can perform the task upon that doc because that doc also have the constructor, and this constructor is actually the review model, right? Is it clear? Right, nice. All right, if we don't have any question, I'm gonna take a break here. So everything up until now we only work on the review model. Yes, George. The doc middleware is actually the so when we talk about middleware, we are talking about pause and breathe, right? Breathe and pause, right? Breathe and pause. Mostly we talk about breathe and pause, and meaning before we actually save, we do something, and after we save, we do something. Breathe and pause. Before we file one and delete, we do something, and after we file one and delete, we do something. Breathe and pause. And for breathe and pause, if you go to the learning portal here, right, if you click on the link here, so here are the methods that allow you to use the document middleware. These are the methods that allow you to use document middleware. And here are the methods that require you to use query middleware. So your question is like, when to use which. It depends on the method. It depends on the method here. If you use something like find one and delete, you need to use query middleware, right? So here you have another method called create. Actually, create is a custom method from Mongoose. It's actually run safe. It's actually run safe, right? Or you can get around from this, not using the query middleware, by using you find. First you find, I think I have in the lab here. First you find is the first way. Right, using, I have two ways to do it. This way it's easier, it's less confusing, but it's not a good practice because it's slow. For example, I will explain why it's slow. You have to find the document, right? You have to find the document and then you modify it and then you save it. So you need to run two queries. Like I said yesterday, I already said about this. You have to find the document and then you have to save it. But if you want to use find one and delete, you only have to run one query. The database will find and delete it right away for you, or find and update. The database will find the document and update it on the go. You don't actually migrate the data into your JavaScript code at all. Everything will be done inside the database. So here we find the document and then the changing process, the modifying process is done inside your JavaScript code. And then after that, you're gonna save it back to the database. So it runs like double the speed. It's like run twice as slow as this. So if your application is getting bigger, you want to use this way. What does it mean by this refer to query? This refer to query. So this is the query. Model.find one and delete. The whole thing here is a query, right? Await here means you execute this query. The whole thing here is a query. This one is not a query. Actually, this one is also a query. Find one is also a query. But if you take a look at the code here, where is it? Shit. Here. If you take a look at create tool, this is not a query. This is an action that it's not really a query. It's something from the model, from the document. It's not a query. You can distinguish which one is a query middleware and which one is a document middleware by looking at the method that I said here. Here, right? There's a link in there. Just click on it and read more. So if we use console log this, it gives us kind of like that. Kind of model.find something. Yeah, no, there's no await there, but kind of give you something like that. There's a bunch more properties inside the query, and actually you have a long note about read and post. Here you go. If you decide to read all of them, that's it. Any other questions? There's a big note on the find and update and query middleware here. It's an instance of Mongoose query. It's not an instance of Mongoose model. Sorry? Nguyen's talking to his parent. Right, I'm gonna stop here. If you don't have any question, yeah, lunchtime for Nguyen. We also need lunchtime. It's a long morning to me as well because of this error. Holy shit. Alright guys, we will come back at 1:30 and I will explain why the hell I had that problem. And I'm not gonna, I should not do milestone 4, 5, and 6 though. It's not that hard, you can follow the instruction here. I believe you guys can do it. It's nothing, it's not nothing much, I swear. This is not something that's so hard. You just, the code is easy and you can explore a lot on this milestone. There's nothing new. There's no concept or nothing about coding. Just yeah, I swear, Daniel. Don't worry. Right, bye guys.